What's going on, guys? So a lot of the world wanted to definitely, like, we're talking about the gaming world specifically here, to know what Phil Spencer was gonna reply and say to what happened with the studio's closure. And of course, we knew one day he was gonna come face to face with this question through somewhere, and the best, I guess you could say, position for that to happen is right here. After having that amazing performance, we know they had literally the best show of the year and probably their best show ever. They did a really good job. So let's see what he says right here, and then I'm going to comment on it.
Uh, Thank you. There you go. I have to do the journalistically responsible thing now and bring the mood down. Otherwise, the internet would tear me apart. So I wanted.
See, he knows what he has to do here, but he's also, the funny thing is this is the guy that's going to do that to Phil Spencer, and he knows what's going to happen. Will it damage their connection? Probably not. Phil Spencer knows what's going on, just like he knows he has to do things. So this is something where it's like, man, who's going to be the one that's going to be able to get Phil Spencer in that position and ask him that question? And how you ask the question and do it is obviously very important. You can't mess that up.
To ask you, you haven't really commented publicly much in the last couple months. So I wanted to ask you about the studio closures and Tango GameWorks and some of the some of the thoughts behind the decision making there. I mean, you had a critical darling in Hi-Fi Rush. You had folks like Aaron Greenberg saying it checked all these boxes for us and did all the right things here. So, walk me through the decision of why, really Tango specifically, not to disrespect the other studios that were closed, but that was the one that really seemed to kind of stick in the community's craw a bit. So,
What's interesting about that is that he realizes what I think somebody smart will realize, even from, like, a neutral standpoint. The problem with Arcane Austins is that Redfall was abysmal, and even midway development, they lost a large portion of people, and a lot of them went to the higher parts of Arcane, who did Dishonored, and Deathloop. So they already lost so much. That's why they couldn't recover anyways. There was really no way to really recover that unless you would stick other people from other high quality parts of the team to try to get them to develop another IP and fund it. So the smart thing to do was to scrap that, and it's just something that had to happen. You know what I mean? So I can understand, why that happened. But of course, Tango GameWorks, they did have talent. But remember, the main guy, Shinji Mikami, left. But Hi-Fi Rush was amazing. But the problem with that, from a Microsoft standpoint, after spending all that money on Activision, is that it didn't make any profit. And even when I put it on PlayStation, it didn't sell a lot either. And obviously, being available on Game Pass, it's not. Well, was it a great game? Obviously, are they talented? Yeah, but I think they put a lot of them on other teams. So, but everything else he said they got closed down. Like I said, that's just what other companies are doing around the world. Microsoft's going to get more damage. What you could say, just damage on that towards them, just because that's just the way it is. But yeah, the only thing that I was probably annoyed about was the Tango closure, because those guys were talented. But other than that, let's just see what he says right here.
I'm hoping here that you can take the opportunity to address that closure and some of the recent changes in Xbox.
Yeah, the closure of any team is hard, obviously, on the individuals there, hard on the team. And I try to spend all of my focus, as you said, I haven't been talking publicly about this, because right now is a time for us to focus on the team and the individuals. It's obviously a decision that's very hard on them, and I want to make sure through severance and other things that we're doing the right thing for the individuals on the team. It's not about my PR, it's not about Xbox PR, it's about those teams. In the end, I've said over and over, I have to run a sustainable business inside the company and grow. And that means sometimes I have to make hard decisions that frankly are not decisions I love, but decisions that somebody needs to go make.
So what's interesting about that, and once again, you see what he says, he doesn't really want to do that. Phil Spencer loves having all those teams. And he's the scapegoat, which means that he's going to have to be the one that takes all the hit and be the front guy for that. The people who are making him make these decisions, and we have to remember, this is not just Xbox anymore. Now Satya Nadella, the CEO of the entire company, is involved. And he wants to make this be just like the rest of Microsoft, because to them, Xbox looks poor compared to the trillion-dollar Microsoft, you know what I mean? So the guys behind Phil Spencer who are in the higher positions are the ones that are making this decision. And Phil Spencer is doing the best to make sure the Xbox brand is making the right decision after being under so much pressure after applying Activision. They have to look great. That's why putting games elsewhere on other platforms, and always including PC, will make their profits look amazing, and getting Activision will make them one of the best third-party publishers on the planet, period. So they want to see profit. They want to see big numbers. You know what I mean? They want to see expansions. And little games like, you know what I mean? Redfall, it obviously is an embarrassment, and stuff like Hi-Fi Rush, though it may have medically scored well, it's not producing big profit in the industry. So they don't see all that helping the super rich $1 trillion looking Microsoft. So they want, you know, only the big boys to be there and to produce major IPs that are going to be major profit producers. And that's why we see the ones that are going to be left are the ones that can do that. And they're not going to take down somebody like Ninja Theory either, because they're very talented. And they also have Project Mara in development, and they have other IPs. They're very talented. They're not going to get rid of them. Hellblade is fine, and it did what it needed to do. Not only that, but like I said, they have multiple other IPs, and they didn't spend a whole lot on them anyways. But it's not like they would shut down Bethesda, but they had to get rid of those parts of Bethesda that really were not going to benefit the bigger picture that Microsoft is trying to produce here. We just have to understand that. And Phil Spencer is basically the one that has to make those hard decisions, and he's going to be the one that is going to take all the shit when that goes down. And the people that really want to make those decisions at the higher up aspects of Microsoft are not going to be seen. Nobody's going to look at them. No, they're only going to see him. And they know that. That's why I say he's the scapegoat.
We will continue to go forward. We will continue to invest in what we're trying to go do in Xbox and build the best business that we can, which ensures we can continue to do shows like the one we just did.
On the, you know, the act.
I kind of felt like he actually answered this way better than Sarah Bond did. Like, he didn't feel like he was just, like, you know what I mean, dodging the question. He was just straight up real about it. And I think that's the best way to go about it at this point, so people can shut up and not bother him anymore. So he wasn't being fake. He basically said the best thing that you could possibly say, to be real honest with you. Like, wholeheartedly, I agree with what he's saying when I understand how this business is working and how it's coming to a more elitist fashion society, where it's like, if you're not knocking it out the park, definitely for like a $1 trillion company like Microsoft, after they got Activision and know that they're not ahead of Sony and Nintendo in certain departments, they got to bring it. They get a lot of shit. And like I said, Microsoft, not Xbox, wants that to happen, so they're going to do whatever it takes. And we know the old Microsoft is a monopolizer and trying to make everything look good. And like I said, just producing and getting all that profit every month. So when they look at little teams like that, nah, they're going to crunch them down and do what they're doing now. Will this make Microsoft better in the long term and get the results that they want? It is going to work. We know that. They're good at doing that. But will that hurt certain people, like, you know, developers like that? Yeah, I mean it would, but that's just the way this industry works, and, you know, they don't give a shit. Now, Phil Spencer is somebody that does care, but he's not going to say no, because like I said, it's not just Xbox leading anymore. It's Microsoft now. So if everyone understands that, then we know he's not making just sole decisions like he used to. Satya Nadella and them and the other higher-ups that you don't see. They're invisible.
Activision Blizzard saga, you know, that's all been, that probably maybe
Called it saga?
Well, I don't know. Did it from covering it and watching it, it felt like it put like 5 years on my life.
Yeah.
As somebody that covers Xbox, I can't imagine how it was for you. But as that came to a close, and you started integrating them into Activision Blizzard King, into Xbox Studios, has that changed the way that you think about running the business at all? Because the organization just got quite a bit larger, almost overnight in a sense.
No, I mean, we're still, and I hope we show this today, we're going to be about building great games for people to play, about giving them choice on Xbox to go play. We've got a broader library of games. The thing I'm starting to see, which I really love, is the organic collaboration between our teams that are coming out, and trying to build that community of creators that, I mean, you and I will go back to the time of Xbox where we basically had 4 games. Fable, Forza, Gears, Halo. And we would just literally every 4 years and I would have to come to E3 and I'd somehow try to make those 4 games seem different every year for the community. And now what we have in gaming is just an amazing collection of teams and franchises that are doing great work. So I think, I feel an added responsibility as somebody who loves this industry for the franchises that show up on our stage. But I still think in the end, it's about putting amazing games out. Like, I'm really proud of the work that Ninja Theory did with Hellblade and how Hellblade's been the response to that. And we have an amazing internal team now that's focused on us doing a bunch of Unreal games as an example. And then you see things like South of Midnight, which might have been my game of the show. I thought it looked so good.
So that's interesting. It's going to exactly what I'm saying. Ninja Theory's not going anywhere. They're very talented. Not only that, but what he's saying too. And I'm going to tell you, this goes all the way back to the Nintendo Switch era and run of only having less than 1 G-flops and blowing the industry off the map. The results are insane. Games at 50, 60 million sales, just dominating Sony. You know what I mean? Because they thought they were running the industry going against Microsoft, and Nintendo came and stomped them and put them in their place. They've always been doing that. And they saw that it's more about software and high-quality development and in-house and first-party. Because when you have that, you inspire the whole industry. You make everyone else want to do that and get better. You're the best at leading, and then nobody can come in and pull an Activision on you. You can't come in and just buy, monopolize, and take that from nobody. Sony got those Call of Duty rights snatched right underneath them, and Microsoft has it back in their position. That's how they had it in the 360 era, because they rely so much off of third party. So they came and took that. If you had in-house like Nintendo, can't nobody take nothing from you. And if you run in the world being the best developers with way lower settings than everyone else, you could imagine somebody getting higher settings. So Microsoft saw that, and they were smart for that too. That was the whole reason why I think they did the Series S, to have a cheaper model and kind of go for that Nintendo approach. You know what I mean? So, like, what you see here, what Phil Spencer is saying is he's realizing that it's all about software more than anything, and that is the most important thing in the future. Definitely when we run into the digital stream and cloud world one day, when you turn on your TV or you have your device and it's like, what service do you want to play? Because technology in the cloud is so good that you don't need hardware. We're not there yet, and I do not want consoles to go away, but at that point, it's what type of IPs and games do you have? Development is the most important. The developers are the most important. You got to take care of them, And he realizes this, because if you have all those games, then people are going to want to get your service. But if you're just sitting there with all that power and specs, what's the point if you ain't got the software? Software is key. It always has been. It's like having this machine, but you don't have no artists. So you're not selling anything great. No, you want the best artists, you know what I mean? So they can give you the best development. Nintendo has always shown this. Development is the most important thing, not graphics. Graphics don't mean anything if everything else sucks. But if you have everything else in line, and then you have good graphics and better technology, that just enhances that. And they're starting to understand that now. Man, just seeing it all play out, it's good. And they've learned. So this is what we want.
You got Perfect Dark, you have Gears. So, like, for us, as the organization gets bigger, I think it's just more important that we can take bets together and try to do innovative, creative things. And that will continue to drive us.
All right, well, we've got to take a...
Yeah, innovative and being creative and having amazing IPs. Not saying I have the most powerful console, but there's a lot of great games elsewhere, and you're seeing that. And then you see like the sales of Nintendo and the sales of PlayStation, and they did the right thing by making sure that they have a lot of IPs now, and that Game Pass was a different route. Microsoft had to take this route. This is the best route for them, and it's also the future route, obviously. And they're getting ahead, and they have the money to do it, so they can do that. No other company could do what they did and be in the same position that they are now. And that's not because of the Xbox game division. That's because of the rich trillion-dollar Microsoft company. And that's where I say that they're the ones that are looking and saying, we want this to look like the Microsoft company. The Xbox division is the poorest division here, and it's embarrassing us, so we want it to be better. So Satya Nadella stepped in. So they're going to do whatever it takes. And whatever it takes is what you saw with the studio's closure. That's why I say it's not Phil Spencer anymore. So people that are sitting there blaming him are being fooled like you would in politics by just attacking the front man, when really people in the higher up positions are the ones that are making these decisions. After saying, man, we gave you almost $70 billion. They didn't get that from the Xbox division. They got that from the Microsoft division. So you think they're going to give them that and not be involved? Oh, they ain't going nowhere. They're 100% involved now, and the suit and ties and all the wolves on watch, they're all right there hawking, and it's going to get better by any means necessary. And that's not necessarily going to be human, it's going to be ugly. But it will get better for all of us. And you got to remember, guys, this is not affecting you, it is affecting other people, and they still make more money than you, most likely, 90% of you. So just, be careful with that. They'll be fine, I promise you. But this is kind of what I wanted to cover. And it was just good to see Phil Spencer actually reply to that. I think he does a good job. You got to think about how many other people would be so negative in situations this guy has been in. He handles everything very well. He's out there. He's always interviewing. I respect the guy a lot. He knows how to handle a whole bunch of negativity and pressure without snapping or being ugly. I have to say he's a strong person, and he is the best guy for that position. So I do have respect for him in that regard. Has he made mistakes? Oh yeah, anybody would. But he does a very good job all around, and he does the best that he can. He's just one guy. There's a lot of other people that are a part of this too. But all in all, hopefully you guys like this, and it's good to see him, like I said, actually reply to that. And now we got the answer, because people just want to know what the hell is going on and how he was involved in that. But yeah, there you have it. All right, guys, peace out. Have a good night.